Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing all the products that I tested for the first time this month and share my thoughts on them. Like last month, I have so many products that I am going to split this into two videos. So part one will be complexion and cheeks and part two will be eyes and lips. So I tested several foundations over the last month. I have another one that I'm going to wait to review next month because I want to do a little bit more comparison to be able to give you a better review. But first we have the Merit Minimalist Foundation Stick in one of the new colors, Chiffon, which is lighter than their previous shade, which is exciting. And I think they have one more. And I could do with something that was a little bit more yellow, but this does work well enough and it blends out so easily. And I was also able to finally try out the #1 foundation buffing brush. This is so soft, blends the product so well. I am impressed with how creamy this is, but it's not oily, greasy, dewy. I definitely need to set this in place, but I think it wears really nicely. It's really easy to build up the coverage to apply. I know that a lot of people use this as concealer. I think that would be great for around the face, but I'm sure it'd be fine under the eye as well, but just not my preference. But I do think that this is a really good foundation stick. I definitely need to use it more. I just never reach for stick foundations. I'm a liquid girl, but I am very impressed by this one. I mean, great coverage and just so easy to blend. Also, I do have videos with a lot of these products, so I will have those linked, and I still have things to edit that will be coming. But this is something where I need to edit it. This is the Surratt Dewdrop Foundation. They don't have a ton of shades, so I went with the shade #1, which is a little bit light for me. I'm wearing this today, but I mix it with the Drunk Elephant drops. And it has a cool shtick, which is you press this little button and just one drop of product comes out. So it's pigmented, but not that pigmented. So I had to work in sections. And there's no way that you can make this come out faster. It is just one drop. And I had to use literally 20 drops to cover my whole face and give the amount of coverage that I wanted. So it took me much longer to put on my foundation than I prefer. And I was bummed that a little bit did not really go a long way. So I think that my mixtures, because this is too light, did not come out even. So I'm pretty sure this side of my face is lighter than this side just because of the mixture that I created. I think that this gives more of light medium to medium coverage. It has a really beautiful natural finish on the skin. I think this wear is nice. I think it looks nice, but I would not say there is that ease of application. It just comes out so slow. And that might be something that I can look past, but I honestly just feel like it's going to get on my nerves because I'm usually in a rush when I'm getting ready. Next is something that I got from the Flip app, which I know you guys are probably sick of me talking about, but the deals are so incredible. I just want you guys to go and save some money if you've not signed up. If you sign up through me, we both get money. The lowest I've seen someone get is $25. The highest I've seen is $40, I believe, which is just amazing, free money. So I decided to retest the Tower 28 Sunny Days SPF 30 and 10 Enlargement. This was one of the first skin tints I tried, and I felt like it was too dewy. I wanted more coverage, but I have since enjoyed skin tints more, so I went back to this. I still don't love it. It is really dewy. It is really dewy, and I just feel like it's not the most long wearing. I mean, it's not as long wearing as a foundation. I will use it up, but this is not something that I would repurchase. I think this is definitely best for people that have a dry skin type, a normal skin type. If you're really oily, I think this is just going to be too greasy on you, but I'm going to be able to make it work with all of my mattifying helping products. And I do think it has nice coverage for a skin tint. I like the consistency of it. It is like a gel and it blends into the skin beautifully. I have other skin tints that I prefer as far as the finish, the coverage, the wear time. So it's not bad, but just not made for me. And then I saved the best for last. These are some of the best foundations of the year. So I was lucky enough to get both of these from Skeepers. So first we have the Huda Beauty Easy Blur Natural Airbrush Foundation. I have 150G Creme Brulee. I think 140 would have been a better match for me, but this one works fine, especially when I set with my Dermablend loose powder, because that tends to leave a little bit of a white cast, so it helps balance it out. This is a really beautiful medium coverage foundation. It blends into the skin very seamlessly. It does have a satin finish. It wears really well. This is a great everyday foundation for me. And then we have the One Size Turn Up the Base Full Beat Liquid Foundation. This is the color Fair 30. And this is my perfect match, which worked out so well. I'm so happy. This is a full coverage satin matte beat down look, which I love. You guys know I'm a full coverage girl, but I don't think that this feels thick and heavy on the skin. If you guys remember the KVD Lock-It Tattoo Foundation years ago, when I think of like heavy, that's what I think of, and this is not like that. It just gives great coverage, but just blends so seamlessly, and it is a nice texture that's like a little bit thicker, but not like a total thick mousse. You'll just have to see my first impression and 12-hour wear test for both of these, but I love these so much. They just look beautiful on the skin and held up really well. So if you are wanting more of a medium coverage, go with this one. Full coverage, go with this one. I think that anybody can get away with these, unless if you have super duper dry skin or dry patches, you might not love it so much. But if you're wanting to try these, just use some hydrating setting spray, hydrating primer, but I love them so much. And in the future, I might try to get the 140 shade, and maybe I can have this for a summertime shade, but again, I'm able to make it work. Next, we have 5 concealers. I have a product from Rare Beauty that I got in a bundle from Octoly, which was so Octoly. It hasn't been called that in years, Skeepers. So that was very exciting. This is the Positive Light Under Eye Brightener in Light. I want to say the Lipstick Lesbians, that I've heard them really rave about this, and a couple other people have liked it, but it has that nice metal tip, but it just doesn't seem like you get enough product. It is nice and cooling, and I think the metal tip is nice, but I wish that it was shaped differently so that it would pick up more product, because then I think I might like it a little bit more. I mean, it's nice that it's not too pink, because I don't like that on me and under my eye. It's a really nice, like, serum-y consistency that blends out easily, but I just don't feel like it makes enough difference to add it to my everyday routine. I might try to see if my opinion changes over time, but this seems like it needs to be a layering product. I mean, if you have no makeup on, maybe this would do a little something to brighten. It definitely is not going to give you like a makeup-y look, but I just also don't feel like it does enough. And on the opposite end of the spectrum here, I have the CL Conceal and Protect Concealer. I was able to get these through Beauty Tap, which was very exciting. And I have the shade number 1C and number 2N. It also came with a concealer brush, which was not my favorite. It was a small, round, flat top brush and a really tiny little pinpoint brush. I think if the pinpoint brush would have been a slightly larger concealer brush, it would have been easier to pat on. And the other side I wish was a little bit larger also, and then I think it would have been perfect. But the quality of the brush was really good. I just wish the shape was a little bit different. But for the concealer itself, this does have SPF 50, which is really nice. So the lighter shade works for me under my eyes, and the second shade works for my blemishes. I wish there was a larger shade range. This is a pretty pricey concealer because it is supposed to help keep breakouts from coming, and it's supposed to help heal your skin, which is great. And this is a very thick, creamy consistency, which is why I think it actually works very well for blemishes. I think it was fine under my eyes, but I would not recommend it if you're just looking for an under eye concealer. Again, I know some people enjoy that texture, but it's just like a little too thick for me. I like concealers that give good coverage but have a thinner finish, but it does not feel heavy. I don't think it necessarily even like looks dry under the eye, but the consistency might not be everybody's preference, but I do think that this is great for acne. I feel like because of that consistency, it really helps the product to stay in place, maintain the coverage, and it does still blend out quite nicely. And I really enjoy these, recommend them. Next, through some campaign online, I was able to get 2 shades of the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Multi-Purpose Glow Concealer, and I have the shade 1.5 and 2. 2 looks lighter, as you can see. 1.5 is a little bit more peachy pink, so I was using this kind of like a corrector, and then number 2 as my brightening shade. I would love for them to expand their shade range. I really love this applicator. I will say though that you really just get product on the tip, so you don't necessarily get to use the applicator to its highest power, but I do think you get a good amount of product on the tip. I would say that this gives more of a medium coverage, has a natural finish. I think that these are quite beautiful. I don't necessarily think that they're worth the money. I'm going to be excited to get use out of these. I'm happy to have them, but y'all know my Tarte Shape Tape is the best under eye concealer all time for me, and it still is. This does not beat the Tarte. Lastly, of concealers I got from Flip. This is one that I'm wearing today, the Too Faced Born This Way Ethereal Light Concealer in Milkshake, which is a nice brightening shade for me. You do not get much product on this applicator. It's just in the very tip, so it's also not very, I mean, it looks like it bends, but it's not the most flexible. So today I had to dip back in several times to get enough product for under my eyes and down the center of my face, which again, I do my makeup in a rush, so I don't prefer that. This gives light medium coverage, has a pretty glowy finish. I don't notice shimmer in here. It really is just glow, which I think would be really lovely on mature skin, people that have more dry under eyes. For me, it's fine. I set it and I think it looks very pretty and natural. I think the amount of coverage is great for either skin tints or foundation, so I'll use it up, but I'm not wowed. I won't repurchase. I got these in the free store. There weren't very many things available that I wanted. And then this is the Anastasia Magic Touch Concealer. I got the shade number 1, and this has a larger applicator, and you do get a good amount of product on the doe foot there on the tip. And I think this has an interesting little curve to it. This gives better coverage, I would say more medium to full. It blends out quite nicely. This is very similar to Tarte Shape Tape. I still like Tarte a little bit better, but I think that this gives good coverage, blends nicely, and wears quite nicely as well. Now moving on to powders, I have 2. Both of these are from Skeepers. I was so excited to try this. It's gigantic. This is the Makeup Forever HD Skin Setting Powder, the Undetectable Shine Control Setting Powder in 1.1 Light Vanilla. So I love the packaging because it comes with a really great quality puff, and the sifter here, you just twist it, and then you only have this amount of holes being shown, but they are a little bit bigger, so enough product is going to come out. I love the packaging of this. It's so easy to use, and then you just twist it, and it helps keep this pretty mess free. And this sponge shape is a little bit different than the traditional little triangle sponges, but I have tried to fit those in here and they do fit. So I love the packaging. I think that this is a fine powder. It's something that I would probably use to set my face, not necessarily my under eye. I prefer a bit more of a lightweight and brightening powder under the eye. I think this is nice. I don't think it is the most mattifying. My Dermablend powder is more mattifying than this. My Too Faced Peach Perfect is definitely more mattifying than this. Nothing about this makes me think matte powder. It's a loose powder. It mattifies because it's a powder, but I wouldn't say it mattifies enough to be called a matte powder for someone that has really oily skin. But if you want a matte finish and you have more normal combo skin, then it might be perfect. So I'll use it up, but again, I don't see myself repurchasing. And then from Rare Beauty, this is the True to Myself Tinted Pressed Finishing Powder in the lightest color porcelain. I have heard from people that these run deep, and the packaging is really cute. And I think that this is a fine pressed powder, very, very sheer. So this is not a powder foundation. This is not going to give you any coverage. It's just going to help set the skin. I would love to use it up, but I am not a pressed powder person because I want my face to be completely set. So I pack on a lot of powder, which I feel like is just easier to do with a loose powder than a pressed powder. And I think that this is fine. Nothing really special. I think that you could get the same effect from affordable powders. I think it looks very natural on the skin, but I don't know if it does enough. Again, you might enjoy it if you like to lightly set your skin, but if you're a pack on the powder type of person, I don't think this will be giving you what it needs to give. Next, from Freck Beauty, we have the Face Hack Blur and Bond Setting Spray, and this has a nice fine mist. I don't notice anything really crazy from this, but with setting sprays, I use them, but don't notice much of a difference. Maybe I would if I did half and half, but I think that this sprays out quite nicely. It's a fine product, so definitely worth checking out if you're into setting sprays and want to try something new. Then for cheeks, I wanted to start with these new brushes by Anissa. I got these through Skeepers, which is so exciting. You have a powder blush brush and a cream blush brush. So these are a little bit more pinched at the base, but are so fluffy. I have other Anissa brushes and I think that they're so good. So with the size of this, you can apply it straight on or from the side. For me, and with my preference, I tend to hold it actually kind of like at a diagonal and stamp it on my cheeks, but this applies cream blush so well. This is a bit more dense, so don't go ham with your cream blush depending on the pigmentation of it, but I think that's really nice. And then you've got the powder brush, which is also pinched, and for me, this is not exactly my preference in shape. I feel like I need to apply it like this or like this. Because of the shape, I'm not really gonna be doing like a bunch of swirling and buffing, but I don't necessarily do that anyways. So for me, I either like sweep it on like this or I tap it on like this, and I think it works quite well. Again, it just depends on your preference, but this picks up and applies blush really nicely. So these are just great quality brushes. So now we have some bronzers, also from Skeepers. This is from Simi Haze, their Skin Suede Melting Bronze Balm in number 2 Cedar. Very cute packaging as always, and I love that this is unique but not bulky, although I don't know how much product that you get. I'm imagining it's a pretty shallow pan. This is a really interesting texture. I would say that it is creamier than a ColourPop Super Shock. Therefore, it's a little bit easier to work with. I feel like with the ColourPop Super Shock face products, I had a hard time picking them up on a brush, but this is a little bit creamier, a little bit easier to work with. This is a nice blendable formula that is buildable, and this has a little bit of glow to the skin, just where it looks really natural. It makes me think of the Merit Bronze Balm, but that's in a stick and it's a little bit more oily and sheer. So if you want the effect of that, I would say that this is a good one. It is very pigmented, it is very buildable, but if you use a light amount, which I guess that can be true for anything, but if you use a light amount, it can be sheared out easily. So really enjoying this, and this is a pretty warm tone shade. Then I have the Give Beauty Pick It Up Cream Contour and Powder Bronzer Duos. So I got the lightest shade Heating Up half off at Sephora, and then at TJ Maxx I found the second shade Toasted for $6.99. So this is the lightest shade Heating Up and the second shade Toasted. You can see there's a really big difference here in the depth of the powder bronzers. This one though is very intense, very deep, pretty warm, kind of orangey. I feel like the cream contours have a pretty good difference between them, but I feel like with the powder bronzers there could be like one more in between. But first off, these have a very strong baby powder scent, which I hate. I don't know why Gwen and her team did that. It goes away, but you smell it the whole time you're applying it. The products are very pigmented, so the cream I do still feel like is pretty easy to work with. I like the way that it blends out onto the skin. It's not too sticky. And for the powder bronzer, very powdery, and you do, at least I use like a bigger stippling brush, so I have to be careful with how I'm putting it in the pan here so I don't get it in my cream. But it is really pigmented. I think blends out nicely. I have to really be careful with the Toasted shade because this is quite dark, but I think that these are really nice. If you are able to find one on TJ Maxx, go for it. But I think even just for the half off price at Sephora, they're worth it. I don't understand what's going on with Give Beauty because they just came out with something new, but all their stuff is on sale at Sephora. But I do think this is a really nice product. Next, we have some blushes, and these are some shade extensions of the Lawless Pinch My Cheeks Soft Blur Cream Blush, and I think that these go so nicely with the current lineup. So this is more of like a purpley pink called Cheeky, and then this is like a really pretty plummy rose called Duchess. I think that this is a good formula. I know not everybody loves it. Some people have found it to be patchy. I don't usually have that issue, but I will apply my foundation, my base makeup, then I will put on a good bit of this underneath of my powder, and then depending on how much is showing through, I will add just a touch more on top of my powder. With this texture being more silicone-y, you would think it would work over setting powder, but I think that's where people have patchy time working with them. But just, you know, beware because other people have had that experience. I think, again, that these are great shade extensions, and I do think that this is a nice formula, not too dewy or greasy on my skin. Next, from Hourglass, I have the Unreal Liquid Blush in the shade Scene. This is such a beautiful pink color, and this has a dropper style applicator like the Surratt foundation, but this is more pigmented a little bit, does go a long way. This is a beautiful shade. It blends out so easily onto the cheeks. For my liquid blushes, I always use a damp beauty blender, and this is really great. I am definitely interested in more shades, but I probably won't buy more just because they're so expensive. But I am really glad that I was able to try this out. So when CL asked if they could share my concealer video, I decided to shoot my shot and say that I really wanted to try and review some of their blushes, and they said sure. And they sent it to me, which is so exciting. And I swatched some more of their blushes in store, and I definitely got the best two, the ones that I'm most drawn to, but I am interested in other shades. So this is the Blush and Protect SPF 50 Liquid Blush. These are very pigmented. They blend nicely. It is like a gel cream consistency. They are not greasy, which is what I expected from being an SPF product. If they didn't say it had an SPF in it, you wouldn't know, as in like it performs just as well as any other liquid blush. So this neutral color is Mahogany, if I'm saying that correctly. And then we have January, which is a really pretty blue tone pink. That'll be so lovely for spring. I have a video applying these. Blend out so effortlessly with a sponge. I just did a couple dots on each cheek and we were good to go. They have some really pretty unique colors. I would love to see them continue to expand this shade range, but I think that's amazing to create a makeup product with SPF of 50. That is their whole brand. Everything is either SPF 30 or 50, and these are really nice, very easy to work with, and I love those shades. Next, we have the Kosas Blushes Life Blushes. I got these from the Flip app as well. Flip has all of them except for one, the more red shade, and I did post like cheek comparisons with all four of these shades. This is Swoon, which is described as a pinky brown mauve. Hype is a warm poppy pink. Dreamland is a rosy bronze. And Blissed is a warm peachy pink. The first shade I got was Thrill, which is a vibrant blood orange. I have to be careful with this one, and I picked this one first because I was not thinking these were going to be that pigmented, again based on how bleached the products were in Sephora. When I swatched these in Sephora, I was not that impressed, but when I saw them in the Flip app, I decided to pick one up. And I think the Sephora lights just bleach out the colors because they are more pigmented than I thought they would be. But I also think that they look prettier on the cheeks than they do in a swatch. I think that these are really nice, pigmented baked blushes. They give a beautiful glow on the skin, but there is no glitter there. They just look really healthy. I've really loved these 4 shades in particular. And now there's just 2 more that I need from the Flip app. Butterflies, which is the pink, and Euphoria, which is like a plummy shade, which is going to be so good for winter. So I will be buying them because I just have that collector's mentality, the completion mentality. Next, I have a Lawless Make Me Blush in Sakura. I bought this because State of Kate really liked this. This is a really pretty shade, and it does have a little bit of a glow to it. It's a nice light color that would be really pretty for spring, summer. It is a nice buildable formula, and I think I said it has like a little bit of a sheen to it. I don't find this to be super special. I probably won't buy more shades. I mean, I would love it if they sent them in PR, but I don't think this is a bad formula. I just don't think it's that special. Looking at the Lawless blush in a swatch, it almost has like a icy quality to it. I feel like because it is this light pink, it almost has this like pearl glow. I also decided to pick up one of the Nabla close-up blurring powder blushes, and I saw someone create a look with this terracotta color Satisfaction. It looks so pretty. I think this formula is fine. To me, it's just like a regular old matte blush. This is pigmented, blends nicely, looks beautiful on the skin, but is not necessarily the most special. And I think that the color range is pretty basic. I mean, they cover the basics, but I hope that they will expand because it's not all that special. But I do think it was great for them to add this to their line because the other blushes they have are glowy. So still not sure how I feel about this one, what I want to do with it, just because I have so many fall blushes. If you saw my fall makeup must-haves. Lastly, I have a highlighter. This has been out for forever, but my friend Jamie sent this to me. This is the Benefit Dandelion Twinkle. It's a baked highlighter. So right there, if you can even see it. Very, very subtle glow, and I just don't think it's for me. I have tried to be a subtle glow girl. Part of it, I think, is because I'm so fair. It doesn't do as much on me as someone that's going for a natural glow that is a little bit tanner than me. So I'm gonna play around with a little bit more, but I might end up passing this on because it just doesn't do enough. But if you are looking for a natural glow from within, you might really enjoy this one. So guys, those are my thoughts on all of the complexion and cheek products I tried out this month. Very impressed overall. Nothing here that was a fail, just some things I love more than others. So definitely stay tuned for part 2 to hear my thoughts on the eye and lip products. But I would love to hear your thoughts if you've tried out these products in the comments down below, and I would love to know what new things you tried this past month and what were your thoughts on them. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.